Welcome to Tea Time with the Guru. I am the Stressless Guru, caring for the mind, the body, and the soul. Today's Tea Time is going to be a little bit different, as this is the Tea Time Christmas Special. And to kick off the Tea Time Christmas Special, today we are going to be drinking Taylor's Spiced Christmas Leaf Tea. It is a nice loose leaf tea. Let me get that right there for you. I'm going to go ahead and pour myself a cup of tea here real quick. Hopefully that wasn't too terribly loud for us. Let me adjust my microphone, get myself a cup of tea. Alrighty. I hope you have something nice and warm to drink yourself. I'm going to add a little bit of milk, a little bit more tea. All right, and there we go. We will go ahead and get started with this holiday special tea time with the Guru. Tonight's tea time is different. It's Christmas season at the time of shooting, and whether you love it or struggle through it, Christmas is a way of softening the walls that we tend to keep up. Memories come closer, losses feel nearer, and the veil between what was and what is grows thin. Now, I'm not here to convince you of anything specific tonight. I'm not trying to prove the supernatural is real. I'm simply going to tell you something that happened to me, something that I lived that changed my perspective in a pretty drastic way. I'll let you decide exactly what these events mean. This is my real Christmas ghost story. It's Friday the 13th, January 2006, 8 o'clock in the morning. I receive official word that the state has awarded me my medical license. It should have been one of the happiest moments of my life, and in many ways, it was. Years of hard work, years of sacrifice, a future finally opening up, and then 1 hour later, at 9 o'clock that morning, the phone rings. The hospital had admitted a body from a car accident. No identification, but they had a strong reason to believe that body was my youngest brother. 10 hours later, I watched the light leave his body. 2 hours after that, he was officially pronounced dead. In a single day, joy and devastation collided. 2 weeks later, after the funeral, my faith died with my brother. Christianity had no comfort to offer me, no answers that made sense. The God I had served as a children's pastor, the faith I had built my life upon, was all hollow. I also lost my job the same week that my brother died. It was a seasonal position, so the season was over and they cut me free. I found myself looking for work in February, broken, faithless, and drowning in grief that I did not know how to process. I applied to be a massage therapist at a local upscale spa. That's what my medical license was in. In April, I got a close friend who had graduated from massage school with me a job working at the same place. And one day, that spring, he pulled me into his massage room and told me something that I will never forget. He said, if my God couldn't comfort me over the loss of my brother, he could show me a faith that would offer comfort. Paganism. He said he'd teach me, guide me, help me find peace in a different kind of spirituality. That's a long story for another time. But what he told me next changed everything. He said that sometimes messages come to him for very specific people. He doesn't get details, didn't always understand the message or what it meant, but if he didn't deliver that message to the person, that message would eat away at him until he eventually did. His message to me was this: you're going to be shopping for a house sometime in the near future, and you'll know it's the right one when you see the yellow flowers. I laughed. Not a normal chuckle, but more of a, yeah, right, I think your message might be for the wrong person kind of laugh. I wasn't looking for a house. I lived in a townhouse. And on the salary that I was making, there was no way I was going to be able to afford to buy an actual house anyway. And as for the yellow flowers, I mean, they sounded poetic, kind of mystical, I suppose, but yellow flowers. I really didn't think much about what he had to say, but appreciated the message nonetheless. 3 months later, however, in August, we found that we were expecting our 4th child. We needed more space. We needed a house. By this point, I'd completely forgotten what my friend had told me about looking for a house or the yellow flowers, because I'd completely dismissed it before. I was out with a realtor driving through neighborhoods looking at places that we could kind of afford. And as we passed one particular house, not even listed or on the sheet that we were looking at, something in me kind of tightened. It didn't feel exciting necessarily. It didn't feel dramatic. It felt like going home when we passed this particular house. I asked my realtor about it. I was like, hey, we're looking for houses. Is possibly this one for sale? She looked into it, and as it turns out, the house was, in fact, for sale. A week later, we went inside for our first look around, walked up to the 2nd floor, stepped into the very first bedroom, and lo and behold, painted on the wall were yellow sunflowers. I froze. In that same room, sitting on a shelf, was a small urn being hugged by a Kermit the Frog. I didn't know what to make of that necessarily, but the yellow flowers really stood out. As we continued through the house, I noticed something else. On the main floor, the floor that we're on currently, tucked among the plants and shelves, were images of the Green Man, carvings, pagan statues. In the basement, on the other hand, were Catholic icons, statues, rosaries, paintings. It was a very eclectic collection of things. And then we stepped into the backyard. Yellow roses, black-eyed Susans, several other yellow flowers. I can't even tell you what they were, but multiple gardens of yellow flowers. And the kicker, at the center of it all, a huge mural painted of sunflowers on the garage wall. That's when my memory kicked in. That's when I knew this was all familiar. I knew right then what he had said. You're going to know it's the right house when you see the yellow flowers. I immediately had chills. The next day at work, I told my friend, I found the yellow flowers. I found that house. I was still trying to process it, make sense of everything. I asked him how he knew that, and he smiled and he said, did you notice the flowers in the kitchen? No, there were no flowers in the kitchen, just the bedroom and the backyard. He kept smiling and said, got another message for you. To reconfirm, next time you go in, look for the flowers in the kitchen. We went back a few days later. We wanted to write down a list of things that we wanted our house inspector to look at before we made an offer on the property. And when we were in there, I made a point to go back and look in the kitchen. And oddly enough, stenciled onto the tiles in the kitchen were flowers. I'd somehow completely missed those the first time we walked through the house. I laughed again, slightly unhinged this time, and immediately called my friend. Was like, hey, there is no way you are going to believe this. Those flowers are in the kitchen, just like you said. How did you do it? Again, he said he didn't know. He didn't know what kind of flowers, real, painted, drawn, dead, alive. All he knew was what he got in the message, and that was, tell him to look for the flowers in the kitchen. That was the moment that something clicked. Standing in that kitchen, staring at the flowers, knowing that I had walked right past them the first time, and yet something told my friend who had never been to this house to look for yellow flowers and then flowers in the kitchen. This was a power Christianity just didn't have to offer. It was nothing I had ever experienced before in any of my other religious studies or practices. But this was undeniable. This was real magic. Having never been to the property, even to the part of the city, and to know there is a house for sale with yellow flowers and flowers in the kitchen. It was incredible. We bought the house. During the closing, I told the former owner how welcoming the house had felt, how comfortable, how alive it felt. And he smiled, said something I will never forget. He said the spirit of the house is friendly. And I agreed. Yes, the ambiance of the house is very friendly. At the time, I thought we were talking about the same thing. That night, we got the keys to the house and started moving in. My mother-in-law, a devout Pentecostal, helping us move in, was the first one to notice that something was odd. In the room with the sunflowers painted on the wall, the room where Kermit the Frog was still holding that urn that we had inherited when we bought the house, it felt like you were being watched. You felt unwelcome. As we moved more boxes into that room that was going to be the office, everyone started seeing something strange. Just to the right of your vision, when you're looking ahead, or looking anywhere really, just to the right, just out of sight, was an old woman with white hair and a blue dress. And when you look at her, she'd be gone. It was odd. Everybody could see her. She was watching us back. Again, you could only see her in the peripheral vision. You couldn't actually look at her because when you did, she would vanish. It was almost like an optical illusion, but everybody saw it, and we couldn't explain what it was. She was there. We all saw her. We later learned that 2 owners ago, a woman named Alice lived at this house. She was the neighborhood Avon lady. Everyone in the neighborhood lived here during the time that Alice was here, confirmed she would walk around in her little blue nightgown, delivering her little Avon products. According to what we were seeing, she was still here. On December 24th of 2006, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'd just gotten off my shift at work. I worked 5 to 2, 5 to 2:30. And so I was coming home, ended my shift on December 23rd. Well, technically December 24th, 3 a.m. And I was tired. Came home, looking forward to a couple days off for Christmas. The house was quiet. 3 a.m., everybody's asleep. Earlier that year, when my brother passed, we had him cremated. His ashes were divided amongst myself, my parents, and my other brother. I kept my portion in a small blue urn. Try to get a picture of it up on the screen so you can see it. I kept that urn hanging from a tree-shaped candelabra that he had given my wife for Christmas, his last Christmas alive. Next to it, I kept a box of rosaries that I had been collecting for whatever reason. That was just something I was into. It all rested on a large dresser inside our bedroom. That night, when I opened the bedroom door, I saw my wife standing in front of that dresser. She was facing away from me. She had her back to me. She was wearing a white tank top, pink underwear, and she was crying. Her head was resting on her hands that were folded in front of her on the dresser. She was staring directly at my brother's urn. I thought it was strange. It was our first Christmas without him. My wife hadn't really shown a lot of grief over his passing, not because she was heartless, but because she was being the strength I needed to heal through his passing. But seeing her there, crying in the dark, I didn't want to intrude on her moment. I thought, let her have this. She deserves it. It's Christmas, and we're all feeling it. So I quietly got undressed, got into bed, and that's when I realized my wife was already in bed, sound asleep, next to me. The woman standing at the dresser was gone. I sat up. Like, what the actual did I just see? I got out of bed, searched the house. Every door was locked. Every room was empty. Windows were secured. The woman I had seen felt real, solid. Couldn't see through her. She was there, physically there. But her hair had been very, very dark, much darker than my wife's, almost black. And whatever she was, she'd been mourning my brother. I tried to sleep, but I couldn't. So, 3 o'clock in the morning, I got up, went into the office, sat down, and posted about it on the website MySpace. I told everyone that I could, just so I could get my experience out there into the world. I needed to share with other people what I had seen. I was panicked. I was freaking out. I wanted to sell the house immediately. It was done. It was over. Weird things had been happening since we moved in. This took the cake. I wanted to be done with it all. But we couldn't. We had sank everything we had into buying this house. We were stuck. We were trapped. This is what I saw that night. So I'm going to show it up on the screen. I tried to draw it in the app Procreate. Did the best I could, but I'm not an artist, so please don't judge it too harshly. That woman was as real to me as you and I, and she was crying at my brother's urn. Over the years, strange things have happened in this house. Things that I don't have time to get into in this particular episode because I'm trying to keep it short for for my Christmas special. But I'll definitely do videos about what it's like to live in a haunted house. This house has no less than 8 distinct entities living among us. And they deserve their own video each to explain what it's been like to live in an honest-to-God haunted house with ghosts. But again, this is my Christmas story, so we're going to keep it to my Christmas Eve experience. Get to those details at another time. Moving forward a few years, a stray cat had kittens in our garage. We wound up keeping one and naming it Princess. After a while, we noticed something. As the cat grew older, she would stop and stare at things that we couldn't see. You could watch her eyes track movement across the room. but there was nothing there moving. She would pounce, tackle, and growl. It was different. Things started to slowly calm down. We got a second cat. His name was George. Then a third cat named Marini. And together the three cats would hunt things that they could see that we could not. And slowly, over time, the house became quiet, calm, and actually started feeling like a home. For years, we had peace. And one day, we got a puppy. Princess, the cat, hated the dog. She actually wound up running away from home and getting adopted by a family up the street. She would come to the edge of the property from time to time, but she wouldn't actually cross onto the property line onto our yard. She'd run away as soon as she saw us coming after her. I've never seen a cat do anything like that. It's weird to say that my cat divorced me, but that's absolutely what happened. She hated the dog. Little Shih Tzu. When she left, things started to feel slightly weird again, but not bad, just off. Last year, Marini got an infection in her neck. We had to put her down. So now we're down to just George. One cat. George is getting older. He's getting tired, kind of slowing down in his older age. When we lost Marini, I knew things were going to pick back up. And they didn't disappoint. There are voices in the house. You can hear two men talking. They're muffled voices, kind of like they're a few rooms away. You can hear them at night. You can never find where they are because the voices move around the house. And you can't actually understand what they're saying. It's muffled. But they're there. Doors slam for no reason. We hear footsteps. When you're in the basement, the footsteps are walking around on the main floor above you. When you're on the main floor, you can hear things moving around in the second floor. Again, it moves away from you, but it's still in the house. I've carried a firearm around the house just to check the attic, the basement, the second floor, all of the rooms, closets, swearing we heard people in the house, convinced somebody was living in the attic. My wife and I would be sitting together on the couch. The cat would be, George, the cat, would be sitting there with us, the dog at our feet. We'd hear somebody upstairs walking around, go from one room, footsteps, close the door, into another room. I'd go upstairs, there was nobody there. Sadly, as George gets older, I don't know that we're going to be replacing him because I'm allergic to cats. The last thing I want to do once we get through this last cat is to continue those allergies. I've lived with allergies for 20 years now, and it can get rough, but I put up with it because it's a living animal that I brought into my home. It has every right to be here just like I do. But it will be interesting to see once George finally goes, and hopefully that's years from now, but once he finally goes, if everything comes back, and if it does, if it comes back in full force. To the best of my ability, I've recounted everything that happened and everything I know, 100% truth, 100% factual. Even though this sounds incredible. If I hadn't lived it, if I hadn't experienced it, I'd question the validity of the things that I've been saying. But I lived it. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've been terrified by it. It is what it is. I can't be the only one who's ever experienced anything like this. So, I'll ask you, if you've ever experienced anything like this, tell us in the comments below. I want to know what your story is. This is my story, and I will continue to tell you about the other entities in the house. But I want to know what your experiences have been. Have you ever experienced anything like this? Something that made you question what you thought you knew about reality, about grief, about what remains after death, if you feel comfortable, tell us about it. This was my real Christmas ghost story. We believe her name was Alice based on what the neighbors have told us. And she wasn't alone in this house. There are other presence, other beings here. We'll explore that in future videos. But until then, I am the Stress Less Guru, caring for the mind, the body, and the soul. And until next time, stress less, live more, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Yuletide, Hanukkah, and I don't recall if there's more out there that I'm missing, but whatever your holiday is, may it be a blessed one. Take care.